quick history lesson and leading up to today's current events. So in 1818, Karl Marx, Ashkenazi Jew, was born, and in 1848 he wrote the Communist Manifesto. Then in 1889 Hitler was born, and then in 1897 this is the beginning of the shit that we're dealing with. In 1897 there was a Zionist Congress, which was a governing body that took place in Basel, Switzerland, and this group of Zionists, they created the plan using the Communist Manifesto from Karl Marx and another text called the Protocols of Zion, which outlines how to take over, subjugate, and manipulate society. Now, in 1897, that meeting took place unbeknownst to the world, in secret, and since then their plan has been to dominate and take over the world. In 1912, the Titanic, which they say hit an iceberg, and it didn't. It was sunk deliberately by the Rothschild Ashkenazi Jews, part of the Zionist regime. They deliberately sunk it, knowing that the three billionaires at the time, I think it's Strauss, Astor, and Guggenheim, they were on board, and those three gentlemen were opposed to the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank of America. And that happened in 1912. And that was to get them out of the way so that in 1913, a year later, the Federal Reserve was created. And as I said in the last video, it created America to be a business as opposed to a country, because they control the money flow. So Britain has a lot to do with this, and America, because the Zionists infiltrated the House of Lords. Jews weren't allowed into the House of Lords in London back then, but they bought their way in with Amschel Rothschild, and he sent his sons to Zurich, Paris, and maybe Frankfurt, I think, to begin their banking empire. So yeah, the Rothschilds are the masterminds behind it, working for this Zionist regime, and it's all done behind the curtain. Like in 1917 with the Balfour Declaration, which only came about because the Rothschilds bought their way into the House of Lords, and they put forward a declaration that they would then claim Palestine and create Israel. And that's how Israel came about, but they needed the support of Britain and America. So hence, after they took control of the money system in America in 1917, they were able to create Israel. And at the same time, the Bolsheviks, using Karl Marx's manifesto in Russia, they massacred the Russian royal family. And that's where it began, with Pulitzer, which is another Ashkenazi Jewish name, that created the World Journalism Body to basically control the narrative of the forthcoming events. And so yeah, 1917 was a big year leading into the First World War, and then the Second World War in 1945. So the Second World War with Hitler, he was opposed and knew what these Zionists were up to, and there are even speeches of him defending independent nations like Egypt and Iraq and what have you, and he was going against it. But at that point in time, there wasn't the internet and a secure distribution of information. So the Ashkenazi Jews controlled all this with Pulitzer. So in 1945, when they had the negotiations for the war to end, Hitler was actually in a pretty good position, but he stood down. They sent him off to Argentina. And the Zionist Jews packed up all the Nazis, all their information, their science, and everything that they'd been taking on doing with the children and experiments and what have you, and they brought them all to America. That was in 1945 with the Operation Paperclip, and all in cahoots with the banking dynasty of the Rothschilds and the Zionist regime. So that happened in 1945. Following that, you've got the moon landing in 1969, which was a crock of shit, and that is basically about a global reputation for landing on the moon or getting there first, and its goal was basically to improve the reputation and have that elitist position on a global scale against Russia. So Russia has always been the arch enemy of the Ashkenazi Zionist bloodline. Hence why they've infiltrated Britain and infiltrated America, Washington DC, London, and the Vatican, which is where Italy and the mob and the mafia come in. So that's what happened with the moon landing. It was about having superiority over the world, but it was just a big fucking crock of shit. Following this, JFK comes into power. Actually, prior to that, there's Nixon. Nixon was manipulated and used, and that's where they floated the US currency on oil, where all nations must pay for their oil and gas in US currency, which means that the American economic system was just free fall. There was an unlimited budget, and that's why they're $34 trillion in debt now. And once that occurred, then JFK came into the mix, and he wanted to convert it back to a gold-backed currency, and he was in discussions with Indonesia to use their gold, and at the same time he wanted to go into Israel to calculate and discover sort of the number of nukes that they were holding, and Israel didn't want any part of that. They're all Zionist controlled, so they had him killed. And JFK disappeared, and every president since, until Trump, has been just a simple puppet of this Zionist Israel regime. And you can see a pattern here now, can't you? It's taken a lot of time for me to put this information together. I've done a lot of research just out of curiosity and trusting my intuition and following the leads and working out what happened. So that's what we're dealing with. It's really just a continuation of World War II. And because the truth of that event hasn't been revealed. Hence why we can't reveal the Epstein files, because it's Mossad. JFK files, it's Mossad. 9/11, Mossad. And if we revealed to the world the truth behind all these events, there would be everyone looking at one corrupt state. I won't call it a nation, because it's not. And this is the issue, because America is totally being infiltrated from pharmacy, Hollywood, journalism, vaccines, you name it, and it's all Ashkenazi, the media. And so although he's working for the people, he's in a really tough spot to be able to take back the power. And the thing is about all this is that you've got the African American community with their rap and everything, and they've got their own issues, and each race has their own issues, and it's not for anyone else to go in and tell them how to fix it. They have to do it as a people among themselves. And the issue is with the Jews is that they actually think they're more superior, and that's the issue, because they believe they are superior and no one can tell them how to fix. And it's just like a bottomless pit. The greed and control is just out of control. So this is what's unfolding in the next, I would say, decade plus, where the truth is being revealed and shit has to be done to change the system, because they've created it and it's a mess, and the only way to fix it is for them to take accountability for what they've been doing. And that's not to say that all Jews are bad people, you know, and everyone, there's light and dark in every spirit. So yeah, JfK and all the presidents since, where were we? We're leading up to Moon Landing, Nixon, JfK, and now Trump. And we're at the precipice now where the truth is being absolutely blatantly revealed in front of us. So yeah, that's a little bit more history to help you understand the confusion. And there's a lot more like side stories and events that have occurred along the way, but these are the key ones that show a clear pattern of what's actually been going on behind the scenes. So there, that's just a short video for you to help you understand and teach your children the truth about the Titanic, the Moon Landing, JfK, and 9/11, and the COVID, so that they can teach their children. And I'm happy to do this work and research and just give you these nuggets so that you don't have to do it, because I'm sure you've got families and jobs and shit, and this is really tiresome stuff that no one really wants to do the work. So you can thank me later.